But Sly, I'd like to start with you first. Welcome home, my man, first of all. Welcome
thank
home.
you.
When that young man beside you came to you with this idea, first of all, what were your immediate thoughts?
No. I said no. It's as though, because it was such a struggle to get the last one done. And I was so happy with Rocky Balboa and the conclusion and Rocky's story's over that I thought we don't need to go any further with it. And I dismissed his idea, but then his adamance about doing it, he was very, very adamant about it. He came back a year and a half later. And then I thought, my story is told, but there's a whole other generation out there, 2 generations since Rocky started. Their story has not been told. Mm-hmm. And I thought, it's very ingenious. And then I finally agreed to do it after I was shamed. Shamed for my narrow-mindedness.
Let's open it up to questions, please. We have our microphones. Dave, go ahead. Young lady.
Hi, this question's for Ryan. The film is all about Adonis making his name. Your name, you're still making it. I mean, he's already got it, but how did you find this helped you or hindered you, still developing your own name in Hollywood?
I would say I wasn't really thinking about it. I came into this industry telling very personal stories. Told personal stories in film school. My first feature film that I worked on with Mike was a story that mattered to me very much. And then in this story it just happens to have massive pop culture appeal as well. But Rocky movies was something that I sat down and watched with my dad. It was something that was as far as I was concerned for a long time was about my family. And I think that's what made those movies so great. So for me, I was really just continuing on the same path of making a movie that I would want to watch with my family. You know what I mean? And it just so happened with this that Sly jumped on board, Mike jumped on board, Irwin jumped on board. I had my buddy Aaron help me write the script, and then we were able to get going. For something that we can maybe bring to the whole world. But as far as making my name, I wasn't really even thinking about that. I was just thinking about trying to make something that folks would enjoy.
That's interesting. You talk about the father figure aspect of it. Rocky had Mick. You watched this with your father. How important is that in this film when it comes to the father figure image?
Yeah, it's very much a movie with a father-son theme. And the Rockies had that in their DNA, and I think the sport of boxing kind of has that. It's a sport that's so contradictory. You had these really strong guys come together, but they're in the ring all by themselves. They in these gloves where they can't even use their hands. They couldn't get themselves a drink of water if they wanted to. They really incapacitated. So it's a sport where you need to lean on. You need to lean on other people. And you see fighters have this bond with their trainers. We saw it with Tyson and Cus D'Amato. We saw it with Rocky and Mick. Mm-hmm. It's a very special bond.
No doubt.
So we wanted to capture that.
Other questions? Your name, where you're from, and where your question is directed to.
Hi, Cindy Perlman from the New York Times Syndicate. First, Sly, you've always told us the great story of how you created Rocky. Can you even believe how this has gone on for so many decades? How does that make you feel? And who do you miss the most from the cast who's not here anymore?
Well, of course, Adrian, numero uno. She was the heart and soul of the whole thing. But no, I was just thinking about it the other day, about everything I have is leads directly to the genesis of Rocky. But what's amazing is this character and the stories have stayed around without any special effects, any car chases, without blowing anything up, which is what I usually do. And seriously, no bullets, no cursing, no sex scenes, nothing. And it's just so it's really, well, maybe until now, but it wasn't Rocky, you know what I mean? He didn't know how to do that. But so that's why I think it's just so phenomenal that the generation that wasn't even around when we did the third one, forget the first one, that they would embrace this and take it to a new level. So yeah, I am very proud and stunned that here we are in the 7th one, but actually you're in Creed 1. So Rocky's story is done. This is now the beginning, hopefully, of a whole new series. Really, it just continues to go on. And what these guys can do that I can't do anymore, they're living in the here and now, and I pretty much live in the past because that's where I acquired all my knowledge. I didn't acquire it from the future. I acquired it from the past. But they are acquiring their life. So their stories, what Aaron will do, will be very applicable, very now, as opposed to retro.
Michael, you're part of a 40-year legacy right now. Your reaction, your gratitude, is it anxiety, is it pressure? Talk about that.
I think it's like more of an honor, to be, accepted into this world, this legendary world that's been around for 40 years, longer than I've been alive, and to be trusted, with these characters that Sly built his career on. It's an honor, but with the team that we have, our cast, what I'm saying, our fearless leader, Ryan, I never felt more safe, and willing to take risks and chances and experiment. And Sly did the biggest thing for me, was take that pressure off of me to not worry about competing or trying to live up to what the Rockies were, just to be myself and do what we were meant to do.
Question. Microphone there, Dave.
Question is, Mr. Stallone, it's touching to see your physical transformation as well after you being sick and losing a little bit of hairs. How was the experience for you, especially after playing this character 40 years? And this second question is, does this make you think like your own death and how you want to leave your legacy?
Yes, truthfully, when you sit in the chair and you come in as one person and then you open up your eyes an hour and a half later and you've been transformed to a person who's not healthy, who's very relatable. I mean, this is makeup, but I said, this is what people live through every day, and this is their destiny. And so I went, my God, I have a big time responsibility to try to take this very, very seriously, and I did, and it helped with the acting, because I became much more sympathetic towards other people. I said, my God, it's just, their destiny is pretty fraught with danger and despair and pain. But anyway, getting back to, it made me definitely realize the clock is ticking, because we're all very, very, any day nature can flip the coin on us and take away our health. So it opened my eyes and made me very, very aware of mortality.
Dave, come up front here. We have your name, sir, your affiliation.
Hi, sure. Stephen Schaefer, Boston Herald. Michael, it's a great step to be stepping into the Creed shoes, I guess. Can you talk about what you did to get in shape for this? Was Sly very tough on you with all of this workouts and transformation?
Sly told me I worked too hard.
It's true, he did.
No, but I think as far as getting into shape, I mean, my biggest thing was time. I had the ability, to have a really close relationship with Ryan, and we talked about this before the film actually went into production. So I had the opportunity to start training, change my diet dramatically, and just be consistent with working out. And then he surrounded me with great boxing minds, and I literally I was a sponge and tried to pick up as much as I could from everybody while we were still trying to define what kind of style Adonis was going to fight, what type of fighter he was going to be. We just tried to, pick out some memorable characters, some memorable fighters, and that kind of fit the character and go from there.
Who were those fighters?
Timothy Bradley was definitely one. I looked at Sweet Pea Parnell. Was another one that I love his style, the way he evaded punches and slipped and whatnot. So yeah, those are two for sure. And then learning from Andre Ward, and his trainer Virgil was very beneficial.
We have a question in the back, and then we'll come up front here.
Jones from Us Weekly. This is a question for the whole cast. Creed really sticks to the underdog theme that Rocky first introduced. So why do you guys think that is something that resonates with people still today?
Aaron, if we could, let's start with you and come down. Yes, sir.
I think everybody kind of feels a little isolated sometimes, or like they're the only ones going, in the situation they're in. So I think it's easy to connect when other people have obstacles to overcome, because we all do, right?
Mr. Winkler?
Yeah, I think we do that every day. I think the theme of the original Rocky really resonates here with Creed. When Sly came to us, he was a guy just really hoping for a chance. Just somewhere along the line, somebody would give him an opportunity, and when he got the opportunity, he made the most of it. And I think that's basically most people's dream, and it's certainly part of what Creed is. So I think it resonates for all people. Everybody feels somehow they want to cheer for somebody who is the underdog and doesn't have a lot of opportunity, but then gets one and makes the most out of it. Sly has made the most out of it for the last 40 years. What can I say?
Tessa, go ahead, and then we'll come to this gentleman question for you as well.
I think Rocky has such an important part in American film iconography, because so much of our ideas as Americans is this idea that you can sort of pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you try hard, you can persevere. And while there's some truth to that, I think the thing that's missing from that equation is the people that kind of help you there, that it's not something that you do alone. And so I think that that's something that you get to see in Rocky, that you get to see that without Adrian, he couldn't have done anything that he does, and without his friends. And so I felt like we really, I hope that we captured that spirit with this new this new story in the Rocky world. And certainly for us, it was life imitating art, because we really worked as a family to make this movie, and it was a really collaborative process. So I hope that that translates on screen.
You mentioned Adrian. Adrian, of course, was Rocky's rock back in the day. What is Bianca? How did you want to portray her?
I think that we were really interested in telling a love story in the context of now, and something that millennials could relate to, because I feel like our ideas about relationships have shifted so much. And in Bianca and in Adonis, you get to see two young people that have a great feeling for each other, and are also have a great feeling for the things that they're trying to do individually. And sometimes that means that they're in conflict. And so you get to see two people really trying hard for something that they want, and also trying to stay together, and the challenges that presents. And I think Ryan really wanted to show a girlfriend character in the context of a sports movie that was complicated, that was had her own life and own dreams. And I think that that's something that we hope women can really relate to, and is not something that you get to see in the genre very often. So I was really lucky that I got to tell that story.
Young man?
This is a question for Mr. Coogler. Take us back to the day, the drive to pitch this to Mr. Stallone. What was going through your head? What was happening mentally that had you preparing to?
Yeah, I could tell that story. I'll tell it quick. This is how it happened. I was in Oakland at my film production office. We were due to start filming Fruitville the next week, and I was losing my mind in prep, feeling completely overwhelmed. Was looking at our schedule. We had to shoot the whole movie in like less than 20 days. It was nuts. And I get a call from Adam Vennett, who's actually all of our agents, but works really closely with Sly. He says, "Hey, buy a plane ticket. Sly's got an hour. I want you to come down tomorrow." And I'm like Vennett, I gotta shoot my movies, blah 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 blah. And he says, "Hey, that's nice. Buy a plane ticket. Come down tomorrow. Sly's got an hour. He said he wants to see you. I trust you can figure it out." So I did. I had to lie to most of my crew and tell them that I had a situation I had to go down to. It was actually partly true, because I did have a traffic court case in LA. So I went down under the guise of taking care of that. And my AD held the fort down while we were in that very critical time. Mike knew what was up, because you were there, and I was like, "Hey man, I gotta go down for this," and he was cool with it, because that was also his movie at stake. So, go get that next one. And I call one of my buddies from film school, one of Aaron and my buddies named Brian Brown, a great writer as well. And I said, "Hey Brian, I need you to pick me up. I can't tell you where we're going, but it's really cool." And so he called in to work, picked me up from the airport, rushed me over to Sly's office in Beverly Hills, and I walked in, and I met him. You know what I mean? I met my dad's hero, man. I met Rocky. You know what I mean? and it was nothing like what I imagined. I imagined, I imagined Rocky coming over here, how you doing, you know what I mean? And because that was the way I had seen him so much, and I can't help but tell you guys, I was shocked at how different he was from that character. From the moment he walked over to me, he walks different, he talks different. He's a completely different person. It's almost like it was opposite day or something. You know what I mean? And then I realized, I said, holy smokes, that's a performance. Like this dude is like a crazy brilliant actor. Like the whole time we talking to him, like I'm pitching him the story, and he's listening, and I'm like, man, he's like all of that stuff was acting choices. All of that stuff was, you know what I mean? Like this dude is phenomenally talented, and I was just chomping at the bit. I'm like, if we could get this thing going, I can't wait to make this movie with this dude. And the whole time I was telling him, I could tell he was like, man, this kid don't know what he's talking about. like, I can't wait for this to be done, him to get out of here, man. But at some point we started talking about like boxing and stuff.
Right.
And Sly comes from behind his desk and he just comes to life. And he's telling me stories, and he does something that you'll see great actors do. When you talk to great actors, when they tell you stories, they act out the roles of every character in the story. They'll become this person and they become that person. He was doing that. And I was just really like excited. I couldn't wait to get to work with him. You know what I mean? That was kind of how I left it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's go 1, 2 in the back. Yes, sir.
Hi, Ed Simkis from Gatehouse Media. Sly, we know you as much as a director and a writer as an actor. I believe this is the first Rocky film you did not write. Is that correct?
That's right.
What was your input in this beyond being an actor? And if you don't mind, if you and Mr. Winkler could share memories of your first meeting in the pitch way back when.
Well, actually, it was just I spoke mostly about basically what Rocky, his flow, his way he processes. He doesn't just answer immediately. There's usually, or if he has something to say to you, it usually comes around in a roundabout way. And it's just so when you write something for him, it's more convoluted. It's usually very gentle. It's not confrontational. He's polite. He's kind of shyish in a way. And after that, everything just fell into place, and it was wonderful. The process of writing with Irwin, I don't know, Irwin, what do you say about that?
Well, as far as how we first met, Sly showed up into our office at the behest of a friend of ours as an actor, basically looking for a job. And he wasn't much of an actor with a reputation at the time. He had just done 1 or 2 small little films. One was called The Lords of Flatbush, which was actually quite good. And he came in, and we didn't have a part for him. It was one of those meetings when you're kind of glancing down at your watch and wondering how long this is going to take. Yeah. But as he left the office, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm a writer." And he certainly didn't look like a writer or act like a writer. He certainly didn't look like Ernest Hemingway. So he sent in the script, and we read the script, but it wasn't Rocky. It was another script. And we liked the writing a great deal, although we didn't want to do that particular picture. What was the name of it?
Paradise Alley.
Paradise Alley. So, which he made later. And we called him and said, "We like your writing a great deal." And he said, "I have an idea about a fighter." And we invited him to come in, and he said, "You know what? I'll write this script, but there's one provider. I'll take a chance. I'll spend all my time," which didn't take him very long, by the way, "and I'm going to write this script. And if you like the script, you have to star me in the movie." And that took a lot of balls, frankly. And we got the script, and it was Rocky. He wrote it in 3 weeks. There's a whole story what happened after that, but that's how we met. By the same token, that same agent, Adam Vennett, about 3 years ago, kept calling me and saying, "There's this guy in Oakland, a young 25, 26-year-old, that wants to do a Rocky spinoff." And I kept saying, "We've had it. We were very lucky. Rocky Balboa came out great. It's time to put it to bed." And he kept insisting I meet him. And then I saw Fruitvale Station, and I said, "When can I meet him?" It was, and Ryan and his now fiancée, his future wife, came to see me. We both happened to be in New York. And this kid walks into a restaurant and he starts pitching this idea. I then called Sly and his agent Adam Bennett back. I said, this guy's really interesting. And I said, has Sly met him? He said, yes, Sly likes him. And that was really how that started. So those two were from separate ways, but the initial meeting with Sly was really very, very unique. And the making of the film at that point was even more, what happened is the studio didn't want to make the movie no matter how. So we had a kind of a special deal where we could make a film without their okay at a certain budget. So of course they took Sly's script, they budgeted it more than that figure. So they said they'd do anything not to get Sly, really, anything. So we came back and we said we would do it for a lower number and we would personally guarantee anything over that number we would pay for. So at that point,
Thank you, Irwin.
At that point,
You're too nice to me.
At that point, the studio then wanted to buy the script from Sly, and they offered him $250,000 to buy the script so somebody else, either Ryan O'Neal or Burt Reynolds, could star in the film.
Yep.
And Sly had not a penny to his name at the time, not a buck to his name, but refused to sell it for the $250,000.
Wow. Wow. It's easy, really. I had mastered the art of poverty. I was now looking at my dog as a meal. I was going, no, I'm seriously. It's just, I think everyone here is, they just, to make it in this business, you have to have a certain thing called the stubborn gene. And when you don't adhere to that, when you kind of give in, you're going to regret it. And there's certain moments, like when he came in, he's very stubborn. I mean, he may look nice and play, he's willful. He's willful. She's willful. And there's about 5 times in your life where you really, and that's why I said I'm 96% wrong, but that 4%, every now and then you're going to hit that. And there's about 5 times major crossroads in your life, and this is going to determine your future, at least for the next 15 years, sometimes for the rest of your life. Could be a marriage, there's certain things. And I just said, this is it. And yes, $250,000 and it'll go away, but the scar and the self-loathing and everything else, and watching Ryan O'Neal play Rocky, I don't know. It was daunting. It was.
You would have been okay with Burt Reynolds, though?
There was Burt, yes, no. I like them both. They would have been fine.
Aaron, you and Ryan go back a minute. Talk about the challenges of this project. What are the major challenges of this project between the two of you? You guys have known each other a long time.
The major challenges of this project?
Of getting it done.
Well, none of it was easy.
I bet.
Off top. Really just kind of narrowing the story down. Because we had a lot that we wanted to say, I mean, I think our first draft was 200-something pages. Yeah, it was...
204 pages, yeah.
204 pages. So, yeah, just trimming it down and really just focusing on what we wanted to say was probably the hardest part.
No, that changed many times.
The question was the
Many
ending
times.
always the same?
No. Yeah.
And did you test it with audiences to see which one they like best or anything?
I'll leave that to Ryan.
Yeah. So yes, but the results were oddly the same.
What Ryan is really saying is that there were 2 endings that we shot. One where Michael wins the fight, and one where he loses the fight.
Yeah. So and we kind of all had gut feelings off which one was best, but obviously we tested and the results didn't answer the question because the true ending of the movie never changed. The last scene of the film always was the last scene of the script, regardless of what happened in the fight. How the fight played out, the true ending is really what audiences come away with, and that always stayed the same. You know.
And Ryan does have that stubborn streak that Sly talked about, very much so.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I'm a big fan of music. Talk about the score. You had something for
wow.
the old schoolers. You had something for a new generation.
Yeah, that's a great question, Yuki, because the music was a big deal. That was and my composer Ludwig. I wish he was here, but he's working on something really, really special right now. With an incredible artist. Our composer is still working on music that we're gonna bring to you guys right now. That's really cool. But like my relationship with Aaron, I met Ludwig Göransson, who's from Sweden, at film school, and he was in the composing school. And he was also mastering the art of poverty that we all know very well. He was living in a closet when I met him in a suspended fraternity's house. That was when I met him, and he worked on he did the music for all of my short films. Immediately after he graduated, he blew up, and he did music for television shows like Community and The New Girl and Happy Endings, and we did Fruitville together. He did the music on that. But as soon as we signed up for this movie, I called Ludwig. He was one of the first people to read the script because I knew that the music was going to be incredibly challenging because there's no movie with more iconic music, And this dude who's being modest about his input on things because he's a producer on the movie and he always sees everything first. He's got an incredible musical ear, like incredible, and I know that was what he would be tough on. You know what I mean? Like so. And working with Bill Conti for all those years, Ludwig had big shoes to fill, but boy did he fill them. Yeah. He really found a way to give Adonis his own incredible theme. He immediately got to work with Tessa on making original music for Bianca. You guys made 6, 7 songs?
Yeah, we made 9, but there are I think 4 that appear in some way in the movie. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see the music scene in Philadelphia? I mean, this is the sound of Philadelphia, Gamble Huff. Did you?
I did. Ryan called me to asked me on a Friday if I wanted to make the movie, and I was like, yes, I really want to make the movie. And he's like, okay, well, you should begin working with Ludwig on the music. Do you want to do that? Yes, I want to do that. I was like, when should I do that? He's like, tomorrow. I was like, okay, cool. So I started with Ludwig there, and then Ryan was like, you should get to Philly as soon as possible. So I spent a lot of time here, mostly in the music scenes, us trying to figure out where she would perform, what her stage setup would be like, what her audience looked like, what her demographic was. Also, Philadelphia has such a rich musical scene and history, so trying to figure out sort of what her influences were.
And I've been told we have time for one more question. Yes, sir.
Hi, this is a question for Sly. There's a whole sequence in the film set in Liverpool. I know you're a big Everton Football Club fan, and you shot at Goodison Park, their ground. So can you say a little bit of what it was like to shoot there and talk a little bit about your love of Everton? And was there any talk about making the Ricky Conlon character a fan of the other slightly bigger club in Liverpool?
Well, actually, Ryan had a lot to do with the Liverpool connection. I was there a few years ago, and I went into the field, and it was an extraordinary event because, I wasn't familiar with Everton at that time, and then I began to really love the whole idea. When he came up with Liverpool, I went, why? It was just so foreign. Okay, we're going to go here in the dead of winter. You know what I mean? It's like, this is a challenge, and it's very different, but he wanted to do something that was far away from Madison Square Garden and Vegas and all the other Philadelphia arenas that has been seen in prior Rockies. But the idea he chose, Tony, for his style and I guess for his background. So it really was all his decision, and I was trying to talk him out of it the whole time. So what do I know? No, but I'm only kidding. It was something just to be very, very unique. And Liverpool is an incredible sports town with some very, very tough people coming from it. And of course, you have the soccer team and you have the Manchester team there. And there was never a moment's hesitation because Tony Bello is in love with Everton. At one time, we thought we were going to use the other team, but that went up in flames real fast when Tony got on board.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so looking forward to your coverage. Thank you for being here. Creed opens November 25th.